Made for Me, Chapter 56. During the plane ride back, Danielle reflected on the afternoon she spent with Andre. Initially, the silence had been more prolonged than the conversation, but this changed as she pointed out her favorite sights, and occasionally, Andre identified a major landmark. Gradually, the subject transitioned to her father, and she found herself opening up, telling Andre about some of their conversations. He wanted me to tell you to be careful when you drove your motorcycle, not to speed or pass on corners, she said. They were walking along the waterfront, the Columbia River on one side, downtown Portland on the other. I assume you told him I was a proficient rider? I did, but that didn't stop him from being a dad and looking out for my... She stopped herself from saying the word boyfriend. That's what Andre had been at the time. Walking next to him now, she felt that he could become that again over time, if she found it within herself to let him, and if he could be the man he'd been at the hospital and during the funeral. How have you been? Really? She asked suddenly. Not great. I don't want to upset you, Danielle, by telling you all the thoughts I had and what I went through. I know you will say I was with Eva, but that meant nothing. After a month, she realized I wasn't committed to her. I've been alone since then, and it's been hard. And now? She inquired. Andre looked torn, and they walked for a few moments in silence before he continued. What can I say you haven't probably guessed? I'm crushed you fell in love with another man, enough to want to marry him and have his child. The words were so stark and harsh, as though it had been so easily done without regard for his feelings or what they once shared. I can't stop wondering if you continued loving me as your feelings for him grew, or if your love for Lars will ever go away. He shook his head. I'm unsure if you can ever see me the same way as you once did. The man I fell in love with, she said quietly. Yes, and if Lars will always be a shadow looming over us. I couldn't handle that no matter how much I love you, Danielle. Seeing a bench, she suggested they sit. The calm waters of the river moved south towards Salem. She thought of Lars, the commitment he had extracted from her and his one requirement. Her daughter would have one man as a guide, a protector, and a mentor. She could make that choice and have no man at all, but she wasn't going to settle for being permanently with the father, not until he had earned his way back into her world. Andre, I'll be honest with you. Lars will always have a place in my heart, but not in my life. She paused, letting the words sink in as she caught her breath. It was the first time she'd verbalized the situation so concisely. To be clear, if it doesn't work out with you, if we don't get back together, he won't be there. I won't ever stop being a part of your world, and that's a deal breaker for him. Andre looked surprised. He said as much at the hospital, but I didn't think... I'm shocked he actually meant it. Danielle nodded. He was absolutely serious. It's really over with him then. She nodded again. By his own choice. No, Andre interjected. By yours. Yes. Andre took a moment to digest what she'd said. Danielle, I suppose that means you could be with another man, find another, but if you didn't want to be with me... She nodded. It was factually true, but why? She'd often asked herself and had posed the question to Lonnie. Why go out and seek someone else other than him? As she'd said many times, he wasn't broken in any fundamental way. Younger than Lars, yes, but her age, and like her, unencumbered by existing children or a prior divorce. They would both be experiencing something together for the first time. The notion of finding a new man is rather unappealing, she said dryly. Andre smiled a little, his eyes earnest. Danielle, I love you so much, more deeply and fundamentally than I did before. Not just because our child, but because I only fully appreciated all we had once it was gone. Will you please? Do you want... His lips closed over the words he was about to say, but he didn't need to finish the question. She knew what he was trying to ask. Do I want to fall in love with you all over again? He nodded, his head, fear in his eyes. I'm ready to let you into my life, yes, she said, seeing a flit of hope appear. "And we will take it one day and one ultrasound at a time." "Danielle, will you answer me one question?" She nodded. "Did you ever stop loving me?" No, and Lars knew that. He said the love had gone dormant, but that it might rise to the surface again. Andre's eyes had widened with her words. "And will it?" "If it does, I won't stop it."